I'm sitting down in conversation with Bruce McIver, the immediate past president of the Queensland Liberal National Party. Now, Bruce, earlier this week we saw that the Warringah motion was passed in the New South Wales Liberal Party. Can you tell us a bit about how things are currently before they do or don't go through with the changes proposed in that motion, and the democratic processes, etc., that we have in Queensland in the LNP here?
Well, I can talk intimately about Queensland because we do have a democratic process where each member gets a vote on the pre-selection of their candidate for their area, both state and federal, and for the local Brisbane City. Whereas my understanding, and I don't know intimately because I haven't been involved with New South Wales division of the Liberal Party, but my understanding is that they don't. They have some sort of delegate system that's been controlled centrally, and now with the vote at the weekend, that the Prime Minister supported, as well as the former Prime Minister and other leaders from the cabinet, federal cabinet, have supported as well to open it up there so that members get a vote on their candidate, which is very good to see. The local members drive the LNP in Queensland, and that's what should happen.
So did they have in the
places, in my opinion?
Did they have the case that some members didn't get a vote, or was it that some members got more than one vote?
I'm not fully across it, Dave, to be honest. My understanding is that they had a delegate system which restricted the amount of people that could go. So you had to be voted as a delegate to a pre-selection. That's my understanding of what they had.
Okay.
Whereas there was 1,200 members on the weekend came and voted well and truly to change that process. Now I think it's up to the New South Wales State Council of the Liberal Party.
Yep.
I get a little bit uptight when it's talked about in the national media that the Liberal Party doesn't have this or doesn't have that, or when they're talking just about one state. They're not talking about Queensland. Queensland has a very democratic process, and Gary Spence, our president, who oversees that now, it's one. Every member's valued in Queensland. Yeah. It apparently hasn't been the case in New South Wales.
Okay. Now, other news this week has been that the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition are both in somewhat large agreement, without any details being specified, that we should have 4-year fixed terms in the federal government. What's your opinion on the value of that for Australia's government, election cycles, democracy? Well,
if we look around Australia at the states now, there's only one state that hasn't got 4-year fixed terms. Queensland was one, but it's going to now go to 4-year fixed terms. That's been through the Parliament. Mm-hmm. So our election, whenever it's held in the next 6 to 9 months, will go 4 years from there. And Tasmania is the other one that isn't fixed.
Okay. Or
isn't 4 years.
Are they fixed 3 year?
I'm not sure they're fixed 3 years or it's optional 3 years. I'm not sure. But as far as federally goes, there'd be no reason why you shouldn't go 4 years. Whether that means the Senate should be 8 or we put the Senate every 2 years, the alternate 2 years, that might be an option as well. But I think there's merit in going 4 years, but I question what should happen with the Senate.
I think to change it to 4 years would require a referendum.
I think I agree.
What about because currently the term of federal governments has, on actual time that they've run, has been well less than 3 years. It's been closer to 2.5.
Sure.
What if we just went to 3-year fixed terms? Why not go 3-year fixed so that we've got the certainty we don't need to change the Constitution and the Senate is uncomplicated and largely unaffected?
I suppose it has merit, but one of the issues when you're in government, you need time to bring in policies, some of the structural changes that should happen. I think 4 years would be better than 3 if you're going to make a change. You should make it to what's acceptable state and federal, but also what's acceptable to making Australia even more sounder than what we are as far as the government is concerned.
Yeah. I guess my worry is that we've got more agility as a democracy to throw out a bad government every 3 years. Like currently, if you had a government that you and I would agree was terrible, we would probably only have to have them for 2.5 years. And if they ran a consecutive terms, as is what usually happens, then it would be 5 years that we might be stuck with a bad Labor Greens government. If we have 4-year fixed terms, that means our sufferance and the amount of time that they would have to wreck the economy and social fabric of Australia would actually go from 5 years to potentially 8.
But why? Because in 4 years you've got an opportunity to change.
Well, that's assuming the average voter agrees with us.
Oh, but that's democracy, Dave. That's democracy.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be looking to... You shouldn't look to control things that much, I wouldn't have thought.
I don't know that it's controlling as much as wanting to set up the check and balance of not having too long a term. I mean, if longer was better, why not 5 years?
Well, you're one of these people, what you're demonstrating to me now is that you're concerned, you want checks and balances. Well, to me, we elect a government, we should allow them to govern. And if we don't like it, it's what happened to us in 2015. The people didn't like some of the things that our LNP Campbell Newman government did, and they voted us out. Well, that's what should happen. And to me, you've got to have that flexibility. The people should have the say, the right to toss you out. But you should be allowed to govern while you're there. I don't care who it is. That is the right that we vote for. I think
a fixed 3-year term achieves the right balance where you're allowed to govern. You've got the full 3 years. You're not rushing to go 2.5. A fixed term is great. Whether we go 3 or 4, we can probably agree on that, because it doesn't let anybody game the system at the moment they're doing particularly well.
Well, if you fix it 3 years, you're not changing much that happens today. You're not changing much at all. Government traditionally, I think, would be looking to say...
Can I take exception with that?
Well, you can, but let me finish, and then you've got 2 years, they'll be starting to prepare for the next election. Not long enough. You've got to give someone the opportunity to make some of the structural things. People think things can change quickly. They can't. There are structural imbalances in place that you've got to work your way through, and they take time. And I think we've got to have 4 years. To me, would be much. If we're going to make a change, we should make a change to 4 years. Otherwise, leave it the way it is.
I think one of the big changes. I don't think it's a minor change to go into a fixed 3-year term. If you just look at business certainty, business confidence around speculation that an election may be called early.
You've just defeated your own argument, Dave.
Did I?
Yeah, because 4 years gives them the confidence.
Even more certainty.
Yes.
I'll give you that. I'll pay that. What about the feasibility? Referenda generally have a hard time getting up in Australia.
Unless both sides.
Admittedly, a bipartisan proposed referendum
has a better chance.
Has a better chance. Do you think that's not an argument for going for a 3-year proposal as opposed to 4? The chance of actually success?
I think both sides recognise that you need longer to put change that you may want to bring.
Okay. Well, it's been great chatting with you. Hopefully we can come back on and maybe pursue some more of those economic theories another time. If you didn't feel too roughed up, I'm sure it was nice. Thank you very much. My pleasure. All the best. Thank you. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Church and State. If you'd like to partner with the show, head over to churchandstate.com.au/partner and help keep us independent and free for everyone. Thanks for watching. If you really enjoyed that video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Have a look at this great video next and check out the website for even more interesting articles and episodes later.